What's good in the hood?
No, keep quiet.
What's poppin'? Brand new whip just hopped in.
Just say hello, everyone. That's it.
Hello there.
Okay. Hello there. Welcome to another video on 4 quarters and 2 halves. Today we're going to talk about the ginormous dinosaur in the room, or a raptor in the room, if you will. You like that?
I like that.
Which is Kevin Durant. Let's talk about it.
Yeah,
Right?
the most non-elephant person in the NBA is gotta be the elephant in the room. Yeah, it's been what, 2 weeks, 10 days, or since our first episode came, or a week since our first episode came out, where we did talk about Kevin Durant leaving to Portland as a joke.
Yeah.
And then we ended up saying, or I ended up saying, that Nets won't release him.
Yeah.
And then, funny enough, he did release or Woj did say that he has requested a trade. And it is funny because I said that he's not going to go and Nets are not going to release him, but Nets have to release him now.
Yeah, it would seem that he's asked out yet again.
Yeah.
He did it once at OKC, and then he did it again at the Warriors.
Yeah.
And now we're going through this whole phase again with Kevin Durant, and I don't think he's going to leave for anything less than a huge ton of picks.
Yeah, I
Am
mean,
right?
Yeah, for sure. Because if you think about it, the Nets don't have a rush. There's a big off season, and they are gonna wait it out. They're not gonna be in rush because recently we also saw the Rudy Gobert trade happen, which was huge because he was traded for nearly 5 picks.
Yeah.
And we know Kevin Durant objectively is better than Rudy Gobert.
Yeah. And
And
out of those 5 picks, 3 of them were unprotected.
Yeah.
And I don't even want to know how many picks Kevin Durant's going to go for. Right?
Yeah.
So, as you can probably tell from the title, there is one very particular good destination for Kevin Durant that everybody seems to be liking, and it also seems to be getting up on the boards, and it seems to be more and more likely now, and that is the Toronto Raptors.
yeah.
Am I right, Sudhish?
Yeah, the Toronto Raptors. I think the Toronto Raptors is the best, or one of the best locations for Kevin Durant to go, because the Raptors have the right picks, they have the right assets compared to other teams like the Lakers. They don't have the assets, like we know.
Yeah.
But I think the Raptors know what they're doing. They have been an organization that has been doing the right thing. Like in 2018, they made a trade for DeMar DeRozan, and they got Kawhi Leonard back, and that trade ended up winning them the championship.
Yeah.
So the organization knows what they're doing. So we don't know, because they have been, last couple of seasons, they have been trying to be a team that is young. And on an average, they're not that old, 25, 26. And I don't know whether they want to give away young pieces like Scotty Barnes and OG Anunoby away to get someone who will probably end up taking them to the playoffs, easily, maybe even to the finals.
Yeah. But it's not only the fact that they've been building those young pieces, it's the fact that this group is sort of like cohesive and they go well with each other, especially under Nick Nurse's coaching.
Yeah.
If we see objectively on paper, the Raptors are not supposed to be a 5th place team in the East.
Right.
Right? And it mainly comes from the fact that they play well together, and all of them play their role really well.
Yeah.
And the question does remain to be asked whether Kevin Durant coming in will sort of disrupt that whole sort of culture that the Raptors have going on. So, Sudhish, can you tell me a little bit about what the news is saying, and what exactly do the Raptors have to give away in order to get Kevin Durant?
Yeah, so in order to get Kevin Durant, it looks like they might have to get rid of Scotty Barnes, which is a big, because he was the Rookie of the Year last year, and we have talked to a little bit of Raptors fan. They are a little against that. They might have to either get rid of Scotty Barnes or Pascal Siakam. They'll also have to get rid of OG Anunoby, which is probably going to happen. And then possibly Fred VanVleet and Gary Trent Jr. They do also have their picks from 2023 to 2029, all of their picks. So I'm assuming they would at least have to give at least 5 of them with 3 of these players, which would make sense for the Raptors to get Kevin Durant.
Yeah, I think that's sort of the biggest argument that I would expect the executives of the Raptors, as well as Raptors fans, as well as everyone in the organization, will be having right now is whether we want to give away Scottie Barnes. I'm sure the Nets would much rather prefer getting Scottie Barnes back, because what it looked like there for a second for the Raptors was Scottie Barnes was going to be their franchise player. He was going to develop into that main superstar there, and they were going to build everything around him in the upcoming years. But now that seems to be in question very clearly, because I don't see a world where they get to keep both Scottie Barnes and Pascal Siakam. They're two best players, arguably. Van Vliet as well, but I would say that Pascal and Scottie are currently their most valuable players, right? There's definitely a world where I don't see them getting to keep both of them and getting Kevin Durant. One of them has to go if this trade is supposed to go through, correct?
So if you were a Raptors fan, which player would you rather give up? Probably, from your answer, it seems like it's Pascal, but I would like to know.
I think there's a couple of different ways to look about this. Scottie Barnes plays in a very similar position to Kevin Durant, like a power forward, small forward type position. But Pascal Siakam is more of a big man. He can shoot and he can play that power forward role, but he's more of a get to the rim and sort of in the rim he can be really powerful, and he can shoot those mid-rangers as well. It's sort of a different kind of skill to what Scottie Barnes has. So I think there's an argument to be made for both, but if you asked me personally, I think I would get rid of Pascal Siakam instead of Scottie Barnes, because it's just the way that Kevin Durant is historically. I don't think anyone would be surprised if in a year or two he decides to say, I want out again. And then you're stuck with a really old Pascal Siakam. You're stuck with a very old Kevin Durant who you want to trade away. And then you don't have any of your picks if you give away your picks for Kevin Durant. And it sort of comes down and it becomes a whole Brooklyn Nets situation all over again for the Raptors. And I don't think the Raptors are that kind of organization that are ready to do that, right? So in that perspective, I definitely think Scottie Barnes would be a good piece to keep, because even if Kevin Durant doesn't work out, they still have that contingency where they can build around him in the future and give away Kevin Durant. But with that being said, I don't think the Nets want Pascal Siakam. They would much rather have Scottie Barnes, right?
I think what your argument about was Kevin Durant leaving in a year or two. Then the counter argument to that is, well, Kawhi Leonard was there for only a year. But the thing is, the intangibles Leonard brings as a leader, we know how he is in the finals, in the playoffs. Taking the team in the Spurs 2014 team, you can say the Spurs as a team was really good, but he was carrying a team that was old. It wasn't the same Tim Duncan as like in the early 2000s. Not the same Tony Parker. And Kawhi Leonard did end up winning Finals MVP. He is a leader in the playoffs, and he can take your team through the playoffs. Whereas in the question of Kevin Durant, now as a leader for the Brooklyn Nets, he's only won one playoff series. So you don't know whether Kevin Durant can fill in the shoes that Kawhi Leonard's shoes. So it's tough to say. He does bring in more T-shirt sales, all those intangibles he does bring. But the question that the Toronto Raptors organization will have is, can he win them the finals? Can he be that driver, the bus driver that Charles Barkley mentioned a couple of months ago? Can he be that bus driver that can lead the team? And I don't know whether the Raptors have a certain answer to that, whereas with the Kawhi Leonard they did.
Arguably, whenever he's gone on a good playoff run, it's been with the Warriors, and that we can consider to be a super team, no question about that. And whenever he's had playoff runs with OKC as well, it's always been backed up by, say, Russ or Serge Ibaka. Everyone's there in the background, James Harden. So there's a lot of questions to be asked in terms of Kevin Durant, but there is no question he is one of the best shooters and the best players in the league right now. And immediately just having him on your team makes you an instant playoff team. And I'm not sure, the Raptors fans might be thinking, hey, maybe it's time we go back to the finals again, and this is sort of a risk that we take. And what really concerns me with the Brooklyn Nets is that they're holding a position where they're holding the high ground, you know?
Yeah.
They're like, we won't give away anything unless we have to. But what it seems like from the outside is that these players are going to force their way out.
Yeah.
And the Nets executives are sort of holding this position where, like, we're chill.
Yeah.
You know? We want to get as much value from these players as possible.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I can also see a world where the Nets executives are like, hey, Kevin, we didn't get any good offers for you that matched your valuation, so you're going to have to stay here.
Yeah.
So that is something that I can see happening. But what other sort of trades, other possibilities can we see from this whole Kevin Durant fiasco?
Yeah, so Kevin Durant had 2 teams in the wish list, according to the sources. So he had Phoenix Suns and the Miami Heat, which I think will again keep the super team cycle going. And I don't know whether we are in the time where super teams are any more successful, as I would say the last successful super team were the Warriors. And after that, it's not been a success for anyone, including the so-called super teams.
Yeah.
And I think if he goes to the Miami Heat or the Phoenix Suns, it's going to be because they're not going to lose their superstars.
Yeah.
And Kevin Durant goes into a team where there's already 2 superstars, and it makes him a super team, instantly makes it a playoff team, instantly even makes them a conference finals team. With the Phoenix Suns, the question comes, what are the Phoenix Suns going to lose? There's already been speculation of DeAndre Ayton leaving, so he's probably going to be in the package.
They're going to do a sign and trade for him for sure.
Yeah.
It seems more likely because they're having some issues with the organization.
Yeah, so Mikal Bridges, DeAndre Ayton, possibly Cameron Johnson, and they also have their draft picks till 2029. So I'm presuming it's going to be those 3 players and at least 5 picks or 4 picks to send it to the Nets way, and then Phoenix gets Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Which is, I think that's probably one of the better packages than others, because if you think about Ayton and Bridges and Johnson, they have been Bridges on one hand is a great defender, Ayton is a great center, and Cam Johnson, good role player.
And a good shooter.
But the question is, can these 3 take them more to the finals, or like can they go to the playoffs? Can they make a deep playoff runs? Especially after the Dallas Mavericks performance, we don't really know. And with Kevin Durant, you do see a shooter who can play in the playoffs. We know he can play in the playoffs really well. And with Devin Booker and Chris Paul, it's going to be a team to reckon with in the playoffs. So I don't know whether the Phoenix Suns wants this trade, but I think this is one of the better packages.
Yeah, if I'm a Nets executive, I am definitely leaning towards a Suns package as opposed to Raptors package, because I think the Suns picks could be more valuable in the future, especially if it's going past, say, 2025, 2027.
Right.
Because Chris Paul is going to be retiring in the next maybe 4 years.
Yeah.
Maximum. I'm being generous, right?
Yeah.
So once he's gone, he's like one of the major pieces on that team. The team instantly becomes weaker, and Kevin Durant is only getting older, right? So I think this is a great trade because they're getting 3 young NBA certified players.
Right.
We know they can play in the NBA, high quality basketball, and they've taken these teams to the NBA finals in the previous season, and they've had that experience in the playoff as well. And DeAndre Ayton, no question, is one of the best. I won't say young; he's about 25 now. But comparatively young centers in the league. So this, in my opinion, is definitely one of the best packages that they could get for Kevin Durant now. If the situation was different, saying like Kevin Durant didn't want to go out and they just wanted to trade him, they could definitely get more. But now it's just damage limitation for the Brooklyn Nets, and I think this is one of the best packages.
And I think it's also great because they lost their center in Andre Drummond to the Chicago Bulls. Getting DeAndre Ayton, who arguably is better than Drummond right now.
And even for the future.
Is better for the Nets, I think. Also, Mikal Bridges, good defender. They have been having their issues with defense. And Cameron Johnson, a good shooter too.
A backup player.
Yeah.
And they're getting that depth because, you know.
The Nets, anyways, it doesn't matter what the Nets get. The Nets are going to be in a hole. So might as well get some good players, a decent team, a decent squad, and take them at least to the
play-ins.
Maybe in the play-ins, yeah. The Miami Heat package is rather underwhelming because they have a couple of players that they're ready to give away. I think they have Gabe Vincent, Tyler Hero, Kyle Lowry, and Duncan Robinson, and they, just like Phoenix Suns, have all their picks till 2029. So I don't know. It's a little underwhelming compared to the Suns package, because Gabe Vincent, an decent player. Duncan Robinson, a great shooter, but has his injury issues. Tyler Hero, 6th man of the year. And Kyle Lowry, that is the bigger question mark out of all these players, is whether they are going to get the same Kyle Lowry as 3 years ago, which is not going to happen because we know what happened last season with the Heat in the playoffs, especially against the Celtics. He was only putting 10 points a game.
Yeah.
So it's rather underwhelming.
Yeah, 100% very underwhelming compared to the other packages for sure, because Tyler Hero is the best player on this list in this package, and he himself has not shown the complete experience and his true self because he's not got off the bench yet. But he's not the superstar that say DeAndre Ayton is, or even Pascal Siakam for that matter.
Yeah.
Right? He's not had that level of impact on this team, and I don't think him single-handedly could sort of replace Kevin Durant on a Nets team.
Yeah.
So I think this is comparatively a very underwhelming package for sure, because Kyle Lowry is not the same Lowry that we knew and loved like maybe 3 years ago now. Things are a little different. He's older. He's a little less fit as well. So I don't think we can. He's also had some injury issues. So I don't think we can expect the same things out of him. So if I am the Brooklyn Nets, I am steering away from this package.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I would rather get the Phoenix. Even the Raptors. I think that's why the Raptors have a higher odds than the Heat. The Suns have the best odds of getting everyone. Getting Kevin Durant, and then it's the Raptors, then the Heat. Funny enough, the Minnesota Timberwolves were approached by the Brooklyn Nets for this trade. But the thing is, the Nets want Anthony Edwards, Karl Anthony Towns, and of course their draft picks, which is funny because they invested so much, they lost so much draft capital to get Rudy Gobert, to invest into Anthony Edwards, and they instantly declined for this offer because we know they are trying to get the best out of Anthony Edwards and they're putting everything on it. So that was kind of an offer that happened.
Yeah, and I am not surprised that the Minnesota Timberwolves have rejected this because, like you said, they've sort of gone through this whole plan of Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns Cat at the 4, and then Anthony Edwards, and that'll sort of where they'll pick up from. So I don't think obviously they're going to give up that core that they've sort of committed to now.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm coming back to the Brooklyn Nets' position, where they're acting like they're cool and they're the ones that have the bargaining chip here.
Yeah.
When in reality, it's just damage control for them.
Yeah.
And the sooner they realize that, the better packages they're going to get, because the later into the trade deadline that we go, I think the packages are just going to get worse for Kevin Durant.
There's no doubt about that, because I can see a world where the Nets eventually end up saying, we're going to keep Durant, as you mentioned earlier, and we can see an unhappy Durant in the season starting off. And just like the James Harden situation with the Rockets, which was 2 years ago now, this can go really ugly for the Nets. And now we can see where the Rockets are, because the Rockets gave away everything for James Harden. They do have a lot of picks now.
They have a lot of picks,
but they are not a team.
A lot of valuable picks, might I add.
Yeah.
Especially if things go down with the Brooklyn Nets. They have all their picks till 2027. And the Rockets could see a big influx of young talent. And they have a good piece in Jalen Green that they are building on right now.
Yeah.
So the Rockets might be the true winners of this whole turmoil, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, right? It's funny because unlike the Rockets, the Nets don't have picks. And also, unlike the Rockets, the Nets are going to be in a worse situation than they were. I mean, the Rockets also ended up worse after Harden left, but I think if anything, the Nets are going to end up really badly because they do have a squad that is not looking good at all.
It's a very thin squad as well, right?
Yeah. Apart from like Ben Simmons, that's got to be the next superstar.
That's a huge question in the air, right?
Exactly.
Whether Ben Simmons can be that guy, and judging from the lack of playtime he's had, and also sort of the situation with his confidence and his shooting that we've had in the past few years. As an executive, I wouldn't want to invest my entire future into Ben Simmons right now. There is still a chance that he could be that guy.
Yeah.
But as an executive, I do need another player around him to secure the
Already we've seen the Sixers invest so much on Ben Simmons, and we've seen how that went off. Exactly. So it's a big uncertainty. So yeah, I don't know. The Nets are going to they should get a trade as soon as possible, whether it's the Raptors or the Suns or the Heat, matter of fact. We don't know. We might see Kevin Durant in Toronto coming down soon.
Yeah, that could be exciting if he did come to Toronto. As you guys know, we are based out of Toronto, and we could get to check him out weekly.
Yeah.
And that could be a fun thing. But personally, I'm just going to, before we end the episode and before we end the video, I just want to ask you, where would you most likely like to see Kevin Durant at?
Yeah. I'm a huge Jimmy Butler fan, and I like the Miami Heat run last season and in the playoffs. I would love to see him in the Miami Heat jersey. It'd be pretty fun to watch him and Jimmy. I don't know whether it's practical, but I would love to see him play with Jimmy and Bam, because I think, if anything, Miami Heat are one team that will lose out they'll lose out players that they don't really need as much as like other teams, because they'll lose out mostly shooters, and compared to Suns, who will lose out a center, a defender, a good defender, and also a shooter, I think the Miami Heat loses out only like one kind of role players, and it makes sense for the Heat. But I think I would love to see him in the Heat jersey.
I don't think the Nets are going to go for that.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. I would love to see him in there, though.
But personally, I would love the Suns trade to go through, because I think DeAndre Ayton by himself, and with the support of Mikal Bridges and Cameron Johnson, that's 3 players for one. They've gotten that depth as well. And all of the players are front court players, and we could see sort of a new partnership form there. I think that is sort of the package that I'd feel most secure with as an executive. So I'd love to see that go through.
Yeah, so, we never know. So we would like to know your predictions of where Kevin Durant is going to end up.
For sure. Let us know in the comments, and give us a shout as to where you want to see Kevin Durant end up, and what sort of packages you want to see offered for Kevin Durant. So thank you for watching this video about, like I said, the dinosaur in the room. Take care. We'll see you on the other side. Bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.